it's great that you want to create art that you want, but it's also important that you appeal to your audience and you're not all just about you and what you want to make. So I've kind of come to this happy medium of making things that still bring me joy, that aren't just like a manufacturing, like a machinery, just like the same thing over and over, but it's still something that's unique and that's true to myself.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Ecom Life podcast. My name is John Sanders. I'm the co-founder of Quadra and your host today. Today we have a super special guest with us today. Her name is Brooke Skousen. Brooke is an artist, mother of three, and travel enthusiast. She embraced the world of art from an early age when she began taking oil painting classes at 8 years of age, and since then has continually created art in one form or another. Her body of work has been growing since she began a new medium in wood at the beginning of 2020. She has spent her whole life creating works of art, from oil painting, watercolors, and drawing until she discovered artistic expression through wood. Once she started creating and building designs with wood, she knew she had finally found her niche and passion after many years of searching. Brooke owns Brooke S Designs. Did I say that right? Is that the name of your company? Okay, good.
Yes.
And she sells her works and creates commissioned pieces. And so, Brooke, welcome to the podcast. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. I feel super honored.
That's so awesome. So, what we're going to discuss today is Brooke's, her story and journey from turning her passion into a small business, and her experience in becoming an entrepreneur and how she navigates that as a parent. And so, which, a lot of us listening here can relate to that. But first of all, Brooke, just wanted to get to know you a little bit better. Where are you from originally? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from Riverton, Utah, and I live here
nice.
now. I left.
Did you go to Riverton High School?
I did, yes.
Nice.
So I grew up in Riverton, and I started taking oil painting classes when I was 8. Like you said, I was just crazy about art, and I wasn't allowed to take oil painting until I turned 8. That was the woman's rules, but I was just so excited, so she let me start a week early. And so anyways, I oil painted all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school. I took all the art classes, and then I went to college and I played collegiate volleyball there.
Where?
At a couple different junior colleges, mostly.
Oh, cool.
Butler and Kansas. And at that point, I didn't do much art. I was so busy training and practicing that I didn't have time to do much art. So after I finished junior college, I went to Utah State for a year, and I managed the volleyball team there and took a lot of art classes and decided that was really what I wanted to do. And I was talking to my dad about it one day, and I said, I really just want to get my degree in art. And he said, that's great. He's very supportive, but he said, as a backup plan, maybe you should do like art education just in case something doesn't work out, because artists don't really make a lot of money.
Right.
And I want you to be able to support yourself if for whatever reason your spouse can't help you, or they lose a job, whatever. So I liked teaching. That was fine. So I was like, okay, I'll do the more responsible route and I will go through art education. So I kind of at that point decided that was what I was going to do. And then I felt really strongly I should go on a church mission. So I did that for a year and a half. And then when I returned, I felt like I needed to go to Utah Valley University, which is the 5th school I'd been to at the time, which is a little crazy.
Dang.
I'm one of those people that
you're doing extra. You go above and beyond. One school isn't enough for you.
No, it was not enough. I'll be honest. I'm like, I always go, and I love change. I love experiences, and I'm always like follow my gut. And I just kept feeling like I needed to change, so I did, and I have no problem with that.
Cool.
I'm very extroverted, so that helps. And
nice.
So
well, if it makes you feel any better, I went to 3 different colleges, so
that makes
I'm
me
not
feel
quite
a lot
as cool
better.
as you, but and I did go to it was UVSC back in the day before it was UVU, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
go
Wolverines, that makes me feel
right?
better. Thank you for saying that. So I ended up at UVU, and that's eventually I met my husband through going back to Utah County. So it worked out great. So when I was at UVU, I went that art education route, and got my degree. Then I had a baby right after, so I never actually ended up going into teaching. And then motherhood just kind of consumed me a little bit. As I'm sure many parents know, no one can prepare you for being a mother or father. Wow. So my first kid, she was a really bad sleeper and cried a lot. And I kind of lost myself. So I hadn't done art for years at this point. Like, I brought my easel and my oil paints with me to Michigan when we moved out there. And I was like, yeah, I'll paint. And I never did. And then we moved to another place. I brought it all with me and I never painted because I don't know if I lost the passion for oils or I was just so consumed with being a mother and feeling like, oh, if I took time to do art, then I was therefore selfish in some way, which I don't know. In the culture we grow up, I think a lot of moms feel like, okay, you're supposed to be like this full-time mom and you're supposed to keep it all together and do a great job and make sure they're happy and healthy and fed. And I don't know.
No, I totally understand.
Right. And whether it's real or not, it's probably made up from somebody. But there is this part of my head that just felt like I wasn't allowed to do art because it made me happy and it would take away from 100% full attention on my children, which sounds great. So anyways, when I had my second kid, I started teaching art classes out of this shed in my backyard in Spanish Fork. It was a she shed. Yeah. Also, I moved a lot too. So, I mean, went to a lot of schools, moved a lot. So at this point I lived in Spanish Fork and I was teaching art classes to little kids in the neighborhood and my husband helped me insulate the shed. And anyways, that was fun, but it kind of turned into, I felt like I was babysitting. And anyways, COVID hit. Sorry, this is where the fun begins. COVID hit.
Keep talking. This is good.
Okay. If I am talking too much, just tell me to shut up or something.
No, you're good. You keep going.
Okay. So yeah, 2020 hit. And at that point, I think everyone was kind of going a little crazy, myself included. And my sister-in-law sent me this picture on Pinterest. It was a little more kitschy, a little simpler, but it was wood art. And that is so cool. I really, really was interested by it. And she said, let's try and make it. So I'm like, okay. So I texted my husband and said, hey, I'm probably going to spend a few $100 at Lowe's, just so you know. I'm going to go crazy. If I don't use my hands, if I don't start creating again. I was really losing myself. I was happy, but I hadn't fulfilled that part of myself that I really needed to. That was who I was. And so I went to Lowe's, got a bunch of supplies. I didn't know what I was doing. My dad had a whole bunch of tools and I borrowed them, brought it all back to my shed. And I just started making this piece that I just made up. And I remember I finished and I brought it inside and I showed my husband and I was like, look what I just did. And I was just so happy. And he was just like, it's like, you need to keep doing whatever this is because you are so happy and I think it brings you a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's
I
beautiful.
have not felt this part of me in a long time. And I felt like this fire within me that I needed to keep feeding.
Yeah.
And I posted up on just my personal page. I had a couple hundred followers. And hey, like, I made this thing. And everybody was just saying how awesome it was and that I should make more. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, why not? Like, I'll make more. And then people started asking me to make them custom pieces. So I'm like, oh crap. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, pricing and materials and all this stuff. And that was just 3.5 years ago. I mean, a little over 3 years ago. Incredible. Wasn't that long ago. And I don't know, it just felt like I found this part of me again that I'd lost. And it was an amazing feeling. And I really did grapple with the guilt of being a mom and doing something I loved for about a year, probably. And I mean, I lost sleep over it. I cried over it. Like, am I being selfish by doing this? And then I kept getting so many strong just urges and pushes spiritually. I mean, whoever is spiritual out there, if you're not, that's fine. That I needed to keep doing this. And so I haven't stopped since. And it's just kind of grown and I've gotten a lot better. And I'm doing more with my work and I have a lot more opportunities that have presented themselves to me. So it's just, I don't know, it just kind of happened and I think it was meant to be.
That's so cool. That's so cool, Brooke. If you don't mind, I want to ask you a couple follow-up questions to that because One thing I noticed was your energy change. You got emotional and you talked about doing something that fulfilled you. You kind of touched on a little bit, but what were you thinking? What made you kind of feel that emotion when you were talking about that? If you don't mind being a little vulnerable.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. Um, so I mean, ugh, okay, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but I got
Mhm.
pretty depressed after I had my first kid. The
Mhm.
postpartum hit
Yeah.
me good. Um, didn't sleep, it was just hard.
Mhm.
And from my first two really challenged me. She's still such a firecracker. She's amazing. I love her. She has not changed in personality since she was born. Um,
Mhm.
since having her, I really struggled with insomnia for 4 years.
Mhm.
It was lightly put, it was
Wow.
like my own little hell. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was having that first kid. I have 3 kids now, and I feel like it's been
Mhm.
so much easier since, but that first one was really hard.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, and for 4 years since, it was just hard. So coming out of that and finding something that I remember who I used to be before I had kids, just
Mm.
I didn't know I could
Mhm.
have that again when being a mom. I didn't know I could have both, and so that was just a huge blessing.
Mm. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing and a super personal story like that. I think that's going to help a lot of people. I think especially women relate to that. I think we kind of lose our identity in different things, whether that's parenthood or you know um, just being in a relationship that we sometimes can forget what does fulfill us. And that's so cool that you found it. And I can tell that it's so meaningful to you. So that's if nothing else, this journey's been worth it just for that, wouldn't you say?
Yes, definitely.
That's so cool. And so, the other thing I love is that you just took action. It's not like, because a lot of people out there, because we serve a lot of people that are trying to start a business or want to do something great with their lives, right? And sometimes we see people that are successful, and I call you success. I went on your Instagram, you have 10,000 followers. It's obvious that you've built a nice business for yourself. People will look at that and say, oh man, that's Brooke. She's special, or she must have had really good business plan, that kind of thing. But the reality is you just went for it. And I
Yeah,
think that's the lesson that I really want to get out there, not only through this podcast but with my company, is that you don't have to be perfect. What matters is just getting started. you know um we have a quote that we use in our master class. I hope I don't butcher, maybe you remember it, Jason, but it's you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And I just think that is way more important than knowing any kind of business strategies or having a business plan. And so I just really want to give kudos to you on that. And do you agree with that? Would you say that that's something that you've learned throughout this as well?
definitely. I had zero business plan. It was the desire to start, and I just went for it. I 100% agree.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, and there's a lot of we obviously have a lot of moms, single moms that sell with us, that follow us, and you're an inspiration that way, because I think it's important for us to see people taking action, being successful, because anyone can, if you follow your dreams and you're passionate enough, you can achieve those things. And so you started your business in 2020 during the pandemic. Where are you now with things? Can you tell us a little bit about your business, how you've grown? You don't have to talk about revenue or anything, but just kind of some of the cool stuff you guys got going on with your business.
Yeah. So I'm trying, well, I mean, do you want to start with goals or kind of where I'm at?
Both. You can start where you're at and then where you want to go.
Okay. So right now where I'm at is just I'm taking custom orders and
Mm-hmm.
I shows. So I did a show a few months ago, and then I'm doing a really big one that's this next weekend that I'm prepping for.
Mm-hmm.
It's Utah Arts Festival, and it's one of the biggest art festivals in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Kimball Park City one set aside. Uh,
Yeah.
and so there's usually about 50,000 people that come, and it's kind of a big deal. And so I'm just prepping for that, and I'm really excited. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of what I'm trying to do is get my work in front of a wider audience, which
Mm-hmm.
on social media you can do to an extent, but I think there are a lot of other avenues out there outside of social media that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't that they don't really focus on, and I'm trying to do better
Mm-hmm.
at that. So I'm going to do that Utah Arts Festival. And then I've got another market coming up in the fall. And then I did apply to the Kimball Arts Festival, which is like the best one in the state. And I'm on the wait list. So I'll find out next week if I'm in or not. It's really hard to get to. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So yeah, just working on growing my audience more. And I mean, I don't know how to say this in a professional way, but I'm trying to grow my to a different clientele, one that can afford.
Yeah, no, you say what you want to say. There's niches out there. We talk about that all the time, you know. Everyone has a niche that they serve, so you don't have to be bashful about that at all. I do have a question for you, if you don't mind. You know, in social media, you said you started out with 200 followers. This will help our viewers and our listeners as well. I noticed you have like 10,000 some odd viewers just on Instagram. I don't know if you're on TikTok, but
No.
what was there? Did you have a strategy, or was there something that really hit that brought you all those followers? Was there one thing, or was it just consistency? Can you just kind of talk about how you were able to grow that channel?
Yes. I have a few things to say about this. Oh, I will just say that I love listening to podcasts. I'll just say this right now. So I love going viral isn't everything, and it really isn't. Going viral, I got a few new customers, and that was about it. I mean, I think what really I benefited from it was that people look at it and see, oh, she's got 10,000 followers. But really, I mean, there are people that are maybe far better than I am as an artist, and they have less followers than I do. I think it's far less important that I think we give it credit. Although it has helped me. I've had a lot of opportunity to present itself to me because of it. However, it's not as important as people think it is, but it's also, it was consistency. Getting from 200 followers to like 4,000 followers was being consistent and mostly putting out good content. I think at the end of the day, when you're posting 3 times a week and you're doing this many reels and blah blah blah, all the things that the Instagram coaches will say you should do, at the end of the day, I think what's important is that you're putting out content that people want, that they with, or that they can learn from. So if you're not putting content that people can benefit from in any way, whether they want to buy from you or they want to buy from you, then in my opinion, I don't think it really matters as much all the other things. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I think sometimes people focus too much on the strategies and not adding value with their content. And some of these questions I have, just hearing you talking, I'm just trying to listen and kind of go with the flow of things here a little bit. But you mentioned, I'm just curious, what do you think has connected with people to your art? You know, as an artist, are you trying to create art for people, or are you just doing stuff that you enjoy? And if so, what do you think it is about your art that is connecting with people?
A good question. I think it's changed over the years. I think at the beginning I was just making things that I wanted. And then my husband's an entrepreneur. Actually, he's growing a business himself, and he travels a lot, and
cool.
he's awesome. I love my husband. And he just was trying to teach me that, like, it's great that you want to create art that you want, but it's also important that you appeal to your audience and you're not all just about you and what you want to make. So I've kind of come to this happy medium of making things that still bring me joy, that aren't just like a manufacturing, like a machinery, just like the same thing over and over, but it's still something that's unique and that's true to myself. And that is something that people want, which is a lot of times, I'm going to be honest with you, people want mountains, they want flowers, they want, those things that are relatable to them, because people, I mean, I can't tell, every time I paint flowers, they sell every time. It's just people, women in particular, they just want pretty pictures of flowers. I'm okay with that because I enjoy painting them, and it's a chance for me to sit down inside with my little girl and we paint together, and I'm totally great with that. And then there are other things that I create that maybe are for a very small niche of people, and that's okay with me, and I do it because I really, really want to, and that's where I pour a lot of my energy and my soul and my heart into creating things that are a little more unique, that maybe not as large of an audience. And I think it's okay to have both. But I think you do need to have both. Do what you love and
Uh-huh.
also do what people want, because you need to grow the
Yeah,
business, also need to do what fulfills you. So I think there's a balance.
exactly. There's a good balance there. Just to go along with that, is there a piece out there that you created that you're especially proud of, or is your favorite, or that
Yes.
means the most to you? Yeah,
Yeah.
could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I created it when I was pregnant with my youngest. She's a year and a half now. I created it when she was pregnant and when she was a newborn. I kind of just took a break at that point because when you're pregnant, you get really tired, and I just didn't have the energy
Mhm.
to meet people's needs in terms of my artwork. So I had this really close family friend of mine reach out, who's kind of like a second dad to me, and they lost
Mhm.
their son to suicide.
Oh,
Um, and they
wow.
asked if I could create for him, and yeah, I was like,
Wow.
yes, 100%. And they gave me artistic freedom to do whatever I wanted. And it was, so I love when people give me that opportunity, because that's what I'm good at. And it's the one thing in my life I
Mhm.
feel confident at, um, is being a good artist. And so I felt like this is something that I could really make beautiful and really meaningful to this family. So I spent weeks and months just thinking while I was laying down being pregnant about what I could do.
Mhm.
And I've made a few pieces like this since, but it's a kaleidoscope sky. So it's
Mhm.
teeny angles and squares that I pieced together to make this sky. So it's kind of abstract, um, very different. And then I do mountains on the bottom with a tool called a scroll saw. So they're more realistic looking
Mhm.
mountains, still abstract, but more realistic than like the 90-degree
Mhm.
wood mountains that you see some wood artists do. Anyway,
Mhm.
so more realistic mountains. Anyway, so I entitled this piece Joshua's Sunrise,
Mm.
because I believe that he's in a state of a sunrise. He's not, his life isn't over, and even though he had a ton of struggles in his life, um, I hope that he's in a point now when I hope that that piece gives his family peace, that they can look at it and know that he's shining
Wow.
super bright and he is
Wow.
happy. So
And I got the chills over here, Brooke. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if it's okay, maybe you could send it to our team here, and we'll share that here on YouTube and the podcast, that piece, if you don't mind.
yes, I'd love that.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about art. It allows us to express emotions and in ways maybe we don't even have words for, right? We can look at a piece and just feel the love or whatever emotion it's trying to convey. So that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Just right before we kind of transition into how you balance entrepreneurship with being a parent, which is for you, from what you're telling me, talking to us earlier, is super important to you. I'm just curious, how did you get into woodworking? Well, you mentioned you went to when you first started, you went to get a piece of wood, but what drew you to woodworking specifically? Because you've done a lot of different kind of art. What was it
Yeah.
about wood that really kind of spoke to you?
I don't know. I think it's just using my hands more, because yeah, I've done oil painting, watercolor, printmaking. I've done so many forms of art, and I've loved it all. But I wish I could say I knew why. It just resonated with me, and I just loved being able to use my hands more. I don't. That sounds weird. And my dad was a wood
Mhm.
too, so being able to work with wood and smell the wood, kind of like my dad did. I don't know. Maybe it's just nostalgia,
Mhm.
or I just felt
Mhm.
it was like the powerful part of it, like
Mhm.
the masculine side of me, because we have
Yeah.
a little bit of masculine and femininity in both of us, or in everybody,
Mhm.
I think. And so bringing that masculine side of me was just,
Mhm.
I don't know, felt empowered, I think is what it was, using power tools.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And I don't know, I'm not too familiar with woodworking. My business partner actually is a woodworker, but it seems like it's more of a male-dominated space, and it's cool that you've kind of carved out a niche, no pun intended, in this space. So
Yes.
that's really cool.
Thanks.
So yeah, talk a little bit about that, because I could tell that it's important to you to kind of still be a mom, but still fulfill that side of you as an artist and entrepreneur. How are you able to do that? How are you able to balance the two, and how do you maintain that?
Okay, so to be totally honest, uh, I have a lot of people that'll say, I just don't get how you do it all. How do you do it all?
Mm.
And I'm just like, I don't. I really don't. What I do is I get help. I really, honestly, I get help. So I have a babysitter come over every week after school, and my mom helps me once a week, and usually my husband helps on the weekends when he's in town, and I get help. And another thing is I don't keep a super clean home, although I love having a clean home. Love, and that's the hard part.
Yes.
I love things to be clean.
Uh-huh.
So it's very hard for me, but I have to let go of a lot of the expectations I have of myself of a clean home. A lot of frozen meals, quick meals. My kids' hair is usually never done. They don't always. I don't usually see. I didn't get ready today. I didn't know I was going to be on camera.
You're good. I love it. I love it. It's raw.
I don't spend a lot of time on myself. I know a lot of women. That's great. Like they do their nails and their eyelashes and their hair. I do none of those things, and and it's okay.
Yeah.
So I let go of a lot of things or expectations, and I've learned that when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So by me saying yes to fulfilling this passion of woodworking, it means saying no to a super clean home, right? Or home cooked meals sometimes.
Yep.
But I don't want it to mean saying no to quality time with my kids. So I basically just break up my day in my head into 4 parts: morning, before nap, nap time, after nap, and bedtime. So I focus on the nap time and bedtime. That's when I usually work. And if it's time before, after nap time or bedtime, I get a babysitter. But I try not to let the art take up too much of that this precious time with being with my kids, because I know I'm never gonna get it back, and I know it's what I've always wanted to do is be a mom. And so I think a lot of it is you have to schedule, you have to be organized. I mean, Google Calendars is my best friend. I'm really methodical about how I break up my time and utilize it. And ask for help. Let go of some
That's huge. Sometimes it's hard to ask for help like that, you know? It really is. Because it goes back to, oh, am I being selfish, or, you know, feeling guilty about the kids spending too much time with the babysitter. But I think that's incredible advice. It's very simple advice, but it's incredible. I mean, that was going to be kind of my next question is, what advice would you give to someone that maybe is in your same situation that has, you know, I want to, speaking to, you know, moms out there specifically who feel this pull to do something that they love, but they have kind of that struggle of, you know, of how do they keep connected with their kids and their family life. What advice, final advice would you have for someone in that situation?
I would first say to involve your kids in what you do. My kids are usually out there a lot with me when I'm not using a table saw, at least. Any other tool, they're out there with me a lot of times.
That's good.
Boards, they're helping me paint. They're taking my little pieces. I keep a little bucket of scraps with me, and they just mess around with them, glue them, and so they're with me a lot. And so just involving them. Their rule is they always have to have protective eyewear on when they're out there with me. But another thing is just, if it's something you really love to do and it's a part of who you are, I would say to go for it. I don't think God gave us these gifts and talents just for no reason. I don't think he was just like, well, I'm going to give you these gifts and talents and you should just not use them and, you know, just devote your whole life. I mean, I am devoting my whole life to being a mother, right? But he didn't want us to forget about ourselves or not take care of ourselves or do what makes us happy. I don't think a God of love, like I think he wants us to do what we love too, you know? And I think he gives us the capacity to do all the things we want to do. At least I believe he does. That's been a big learning moment for me, is that if this is something that he really wants me to do and that I really want to do, he will provide a way for me. I will have the energy. I will have time. I will have the inspiration to do what I need to be the best mom I can be, and to also create this business and create artwork that brings meaning to other people's lives. I think you can do both. And another crazy little side note that I'll stop.
No, go for it. This is great stuff.
Okay. This is a recent thing for me, but I was really struggling with my energy. Like physically tired of 3 little kids and travels a lot.
Right.
I'm like, I'm exhausted. So I've had to be really disciplined at going to bed early. And so I don't watch a lot, even though, man, I'd really love to watch some Netflix. Like I have to just a lot of times. So go to bed early
Yeah.
and then so I meditate in the middle of the day. Sounds a little hooky.
Awesome. No,
There's
it's
like,
not hooky at all. It's powerful.
it gives you permission to slow down, because I think so often we just like, okay, we have to go and not take breaks and get 5 hours of sleep and grind. And at least that's I mean, a lot of people in my life, or at least my husband, that's kind of the message that they get from the outside world. And it's just, and I think that if we give ourselves permission to slow down, let our bodies rest for a minute, breathe, like, relax, I have far the rest of the day. I have greater capacity to have patience with my kids, to love my kids, and to do the things that I want to do outside of that. It's kind of silly, whether it's meditating or what a break or rest, whatever you want to call it, to take that time at some point during the day and give your body a rest. It's working hard for you far more than I think we give it credit for. So
that's awesome. That's great advice. I love it. And it's just been awesome to hear your experience, Brooke, and congratulations on your success. We'll again showcase some of the pieces here on the B-roll during the podcast. But could you give us some final thoughts? Where can people find you on your socials? What, like, let's say someone's interested in buying a piece. Where can they go to find your work?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram primarily, and so my Instagram is Brooke S Designs, or Brooke_S_designs. And then my site is brookesdesigns.squarespace.com. And my Facebook is Brooke Skousen Design. And then I also have like Pinterest and Etsy, but I'm not on that as much. But mostly you can reach out to me. Email is probably the best if you want a custom order.
Nice.
My email is brooke.sdesignsart@gmail.com. Yeah, that's how you get.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks again, Brooke, for being on. We really appreciate it. We wish you continued success. And thanks for all the wisdom you shared with us today. And guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to give us a follow, like this video. Let us know in the comments if you can relate to these struggles, if you have any advice, or just have questions about being an entrepreneur and juggling parenthood, or if you're an artist, we'd love to hear from you. You can follow us at Ecom Life Podcast on all our socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere that you consume social media. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Ecom Life Podcast. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Ecom Life Podcast. Ecom Life Podcast is produced by Quadra. Monetize your creativity with Quadra, an e-commerce platform created by sellers for sellers. To learn more, visit goquadra.com. We appreciate your time and hope today's episode has enriched your understanding of the online business world. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to stay up to date with the latest trends, strategies, and success stories, please consider subscribing to the podcast and following us on social media at Ecom Life Podcast.